Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another Instant Deck Tech. Today we have a first here in Instant Deck Tech land. We are actually going to the Pauper format to check out a really cool deck by the name of Midnight Gond. This one recently took a Magic Online user by the name of Jack Mitchell Burns to a 5-0 finish in a league, so congrats to Jack Mitchell Burns on their finish with the deck. A quick reminder before we break down Midnight Gond. If you enjoy this deck, want to see it made into videos, take a minute, click the like button, the subscribe button, leave a comment, anything you can do to support your deck, because whichever deck is most popular gets a shot at being made into videos for next week. So as you probably know, Pauper is an all-common format. Only commons are legal in the format, and Midnight Gond is essentially the Splinter Twin combo of Pauper. So the Splinter Twin combo itself involves Midnight Guard and Presence of Gond. So Midnight Gond, a 2/3 for 3, when another creature enters the battlefield, you get to untap it. And then Presence of Gond is a 3-mana aura that enchants a creature and says you can tap that creature to make a 1/1 green elf warrior token. So if you can enchant a Midnight Guard with the Presence of the Gond, you tap the Midnight Guard to make a elf warrior token, and when the elf enters the battlefield, you get to untap the Midnight Guard, tap it to make an elf warrior token, untap it, make a Midnight Guard. You can make an infinite number of 1/1 green elf warrior tokens with this combo. So it's pretty sweet and a pretty guaranteed way to win the game. You just make 20, 30, 100, 500, 10 million, however many elves you want, and then swing for lethal. God's Willing is there to protect the combo. One of the problems with Midnight Guard, of course, is it gets blown out by removal. A lightning bolt will take it down, pretty much anything. So God's Willing can give it protection from the color of the removal spell to make sure that it stays alive. Then the deck also can gain infinite life, so even if you can't for some reason attack and win with all your tokens, if you have a Soul Warden or a Soul's Attendant on the battlefield, when you make an infinite number of Elf Warrior tokens, you make an infinite amount of life because you gain a life whenever a creature enters the battlefield. So even if you can't actually attack your opponent for lethal, you can still pretty much put the game out of reach by gaining a huge amount of life. Then the deck has some ways to protect the tokens. So some of the removal in Pauper is mass removal that does 1 damage to each creature. Those are the kind of the sweepers of the format. Think something like Electrickery. So Veteran Armor and Spider Silk Armor are a way to buff the toughness of your creatures so they don't die to an Electrickery, for example. Just gives everything +0, +1. Veteran Armor is probably better because it also has a body itself, but Spider Silk Armor also allows you to block flyers, which is kind of a bonus. And then, when you're not winning with the combo, you need a good plan B, and the deck's plan B is essentially to be a green-white token deck. So you got Selesnya Evangel, which can make a bunch of tokens, not infinite or anything, but you can tap it and pay 1 and tap an untapped creature to make a sapling token. Sprout Swarm can take over the game on your own, known as one of the most broken limited commons of all time. It has Convoke, so you can tap creatures to pay for it. It has buyback of 3. You can also tap creatures to pay for the buyback, and you make a 1/1 sapling. So it kind of just spirals out of control. The more creatures you make with Sprout Swarm, the more creatures you have to tap to make more creatures with Sprout Swarm. Pretty soon you're making multiple 1/1s a turn for free just by tapping your creatures. And Scatter to the Seeds also has Convoke, makes 3 saplings, good way to get the chain started. So winning with just 1/1s can be tricky, so the deck has Pallid Mycoderm as a way to pump everything up. So we're just talking about how a lot of these cards, not Presence of Gond, but Scatter the Seeds, and Sprout Swarm, and Selesnya Evangel, they all make sapling tokens. Well, Pallid Mycoderm can make sapling tokens itself, but it has an ability where you can sack a sapling, and you pump all your fungus or saplings. So this is a way you can kind of anthem up your team and get in a big attack that way. And then removal-wise, just 2 copies of Journey to Nowhere. In the mana base, Colony Garden, some Pauper duels, Selesnya Guildgate, Selesnya Sanctuary, and then some basics, Plains and Forests. In the sideboard, it's pretty sweet. So the deck is playing only 4 cards in the sideboard and playing a lot of them, but they're all targeted at specific popular decks. So Valeron Outrider has Pro Black. It is there for the Mono Black control matchup. And then you have Gleeful Sabotage. This is targeted towards Affinity. There's also some other artifact decks. Circle of Protection Red helps against red decks. And, of course, Scattershot Archer is a sniper against decks with Delver of Secrets, Spellstutter Sprite, things like that, little flyers that can take over the game in the air. Anyway, if you are a former Twin player in Modern and you're thinking about breaking into Pauper, Midnight Gond just might be the deck for you. It kind of plays the same way, has a lot of cool synergies and combos built in. Anyway, that has been today's Instant Deck Tech. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you soon.